Right, let's discuss this further. Then we are now joined by Executive Director for Access Chapter 2, Steve Letsike. He joins us now via Zoom. A very good afternoon to you, and thank you very much for joining us here on SABC News. Good to see you.
Good afternoon, and thank you. Good afternoon to your viewers as well.
Yeah, Steve, we're hearing that the LGBTQ-Plus organizations, of course, there in Cape Town are marching. They've called upon government, Parliament, Chapter 9 institutions here in the country to get involved in what's happening in Uganda. What role do these particular institutions have when it comes to, I don't want to use the word dictating, but when it comes to what they're supposed to be saying about the rules of another country? What role will they be playing in what Uganda is saying? I hope I've articulated that correctly.
No, you did. In fact, there were marches across 3 cities. The one that took place in Cape Town, the one that took place in Pretoria at the United Nations offices here in South Africa, as well as in KwaZulu-Natal in Durban, eThekwini. I think one thing that we need to note, one, is about the role of United Nations, where many of our countries, including South Africa, is a member of the United Nations. We are signatories to both international and regional mechanisms like Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Now, Uganda is also a member of the United Nations, and it's also, again, like South Africa and Uganda, we are members of the Commonwealth heads of government. Now, these countries and the institutions may have a policy that speaks about independency, autonomy, and respect for sovereignty. And I think it's quite important. We also respect that from our own foreign policy perspective. Where there has been concerns, the concern comes with the conflict and contradiction and the undermining of the global and regional mechanism, where life now potentially may be at stake. And this is exactly what Uganda has passed, the anti-homosexuality laws that may actually erase LGBTI people. There's no way we can entertain laws that risk to take away lives.
Steve, a two-pronged question here. Firstly, you talk about the fact that, these countries are signatories to certain statutes which have a certain standard when it comes to issues pertaining to human rights. Firstly, who do you hold accountable when that has not been the case, as is clearly the case in Uganda? And how do we keep each other accountable? And I wonder if we can talk about it from a perspective of being African countries, how we hold each other accountable.
Yeah, unfortunately, our own regional mechanisms have been undermined by many things. But if you take the context of the whole idea or program of decolonization, because one thing that is common, like even where we come from legacy of prejudice. Now, if you're going to talk about what mechanism exists at the regional level, 1, African Union, 2, the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, which actually few years ago has passed resolutions that promotes and protects the rights of LGBTI people in Africa, that says that LGBTI people should not be exposed to violence and should actually be that we repeal these laws. Now, 29 countries in Africa still criminalize homosexual act. And this is where we undermine our own mechanism, because we are actually not holding each other accountable the way we do. And we actually are going into the mode of, let's sign bilateral agreement, let's sign multilateral agreement. But none of these agreements speaks about how we protect citizens everywhere they are. And this is the issue.
All right, Steve, unfortunately, we're going to have to cut the interview as we're having some breaking news, but we do indeed get the gist of what you have to say, and we appreciate your input there on this issue, of course, pertaining to that bill that has been passed in Uganda and its implications, certainly, on human rights issues. That's Steve Letsike there speaking to us.